We got some interesting new developments. Some new photos have come out of Charlie that kind of help prove our theory with the exploding microphone receiver pack underneath of his shirt. So without further ado, we'll get into the new evidence.
Going back to the transceiver on his waist, Colin, that you shared with everybody there, and when we did the video there that day, we were really heavily focused on that transceiver as the very possibility of where this possibly some type of petting in there to shoot a projectile. But now you have more evidence that's bringing us right back to that transceiver pack there. So that's just kind of, in a nutshell overview, is my dyslexic version of events.
You have a high pressure trajectory that comes up from under his left pectoral that seems from down towards his waist. And that's the direction that it seems to have knocked the necklace up into the shirt. And that's why the shirt is up over the wound. And then when it comes down, you have the wound. That's like the main, energy projectile that seems to be going up, and the excess.
You can see the air right here underneath underneath the shirt sleeve there. You can definitely see it. Yeah.
So a couple of things that are really telling about this to me is, when you have the air coming out of his sleeves, you have the air coming out of his shirt, both front and back, and we know that it's air. We know that it's which way it's traveling because of the hair on the back of his neck, but stands straight up. So we know it's coming upward and out. You know, I think it was meant, it probably could have almost decapitated him. That's probably why we're still looking at this, is because something got botched.
I agree with that. And to Mitch's point, I think it was botched. I think that they definitely intended for it to either hit his chest or to decapitate him one way or the other. And what I think happened, they did not intend for it to go into his neck. Absolutely not. That screwed up their entire narrative, everything they planned, because they wanted it to look like a gunshot. They were planning on the 30-06 and saying that it would just either blow his head off or just went straight through, whatever. And I actually think the necklace, because we know how the necklace moved or whatever, I think that the necklace is the reason why things got malfunctioned. I think whatever projected upward hit that necklace and got deflected somehow, and that's what caused it to go in the wrong direction. Potentially. I mean, that's something that I've been mulling over.
I think it got hit by whatever the projectile was before it went into the neck, and it got ping pong balled into his shirt. It broke, and that matches all the kinetics that we can see on the shirt that are happening at that time. What we don't see, with and God bless John Bray and all the work he's done, but I do disagree with him on this point, is the microphone that is, on Charlie's right pack, basically, and the theory of, it could be a shape charge pattern, that shoots a battery into his neck at that angle. And the problem with that is you're still dealing with trying to do a projectile. It's going to have a back kick, and there's nothing on the video showing that microphone got kicked backward in the opposite direction at all.
And if it did, the magnet is not strong enough to hold it.
It would have blown up. Yeah, it would have completely blown all over the place.
This photo here, you could see that he clearly has something under his shirt attached to his belt.
Well, you can see the wire Colin, coming right off of it. It's like a lapel mic transceiver is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. That's the receiver for the microphone. That's exactly what it is for the Rode wireless microphone. That's the receiver for it. So that is what originally led us down this path. And then what the new thing is we have some new pictures that have come out here, which we'll pull this up. And I'm just showing this because this is the larger picture, just so you know where I got it from. But you can't really see it here too well. Yeah, I'm going to.
Okay.
So there you go. So when you zoom in on that picture I just showed you, right, the same spot under his shirt where you could see that bulge where the microphone receiver was, there is a like a burn mark, whether it be, I don't know if it's a rug burn mark or whether it's a actual burn mark.
That's a bruising from impact is what that is.
Or it could, exactly. But yeah, you had 2 different points. There's 2 different marks there, which as Mitch, I'll let Mitch tell you what he thinks, but that actually looks like it was attached to his belt.
I'm going to try and blow this up here.
The marks there.
It's actually 2 clear marks, and it looks, initially looking at it, it looks like chafe marks. It looks like it could be chafe, it could be bruising of the device when it fires off. You're going to have the backfire effect in 180 degrees, and it's going to shove that right back down into his waistband. And the belts that they use, the clips, if I remember I sent you a picture of one there, Colin, I don't know if you have that or not, but the shape of those, they have a little indentation, and then they sort of skip back toward the body, and it's for the clip to actually be able to grip inside the belt. But that little lip on the outside is actually, they tend to be, they're not razor sharp or anything, but if they scrape at a high speed, what you're going to end up with is something that looks like a chafing burn. It's not necessarily, it'll look like a burn. It sort of gets treated that way medically too, but it's basically like the skin got ripped. There is one point I'd like to make about that is that's a huge bloody scene there. And you can tell that there's a lot of blood coming out of the left side of his neck and up around this area, and guys have blood on their arms and whatnot. And somebody might say, well, that is probably just transfer of blood to his waistband. But it's 2 very distinct, like finger marks almost. So I definitely believe that was some type of the device's clip, and it just got pushed back down into his onto his belt snug when it fired off and caused.
Yeah, I agree with that. So it could either be bruising from the explosion pushing into it, or it could be like rug burn or whatever from it pushing back down into it with such force. But it's definitely. Go ahead, Steve.
Have you noticed, guys, both of you there, when I zoomed in on the photograph itself, besides where the receiver is, like even to the far side of his stomach there, it's like, whether it's a tremendous amount of bruising or if it's blood or whatever, I mean, there could be a shadow in there as well, but hard to tell.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. And you're right. It does appear to be like a bruising around that mark.
Right. And of course, like Mitch was bringing out too, is like, all over his stomach area. It's like almost like smearing of blood or something on there, so, regardless, it's just it seems to 100%.
We know that there was a device there. We got the picture of it beforehand. But in this picture, where's the device? I don't see it anymore.
And I never really looked into this. I think, Colin, you did, where they're passing something off right there. When the guy jumps over the table, they grab something, they pass off to the other. Could that have been what they were passing off, was the fragmentation of this device, the transceiver that was on his waist? I mean, I don't know if that was ever determined what was passed off.
Well, I mean, if there was anything left, because the black shards were not only in the SUV, but they were actually on the table on the ground there on the scene.
Okay.
Yeah. If something was there and now it's gone, we've got a mark there that shows, it looks like, something made that mark, something made that burn or that chafe mark. And that matches the picture of the clips, the 2-finger clips that sometimes the military uses. And that, if it had shot up from there, I know we were talking about what the initial target was. That kind of a device, if it was, say, seated well into his belt and it fired upward, it would have been aiming straight at his heart. However, like I said, Charlie had a habit of slouching back and then slouching forward. And what that creates is a little bit of a gap in those kind of devices. They slip up and then the top leans out a bit. And I think that's when it went off. And it was, I think the original target was probably to go up under his ribs and into his heart, like you were saying. But with how it got loose, it misfired, or the trajectory went up, hit the necklace, went into his neck. That's where I would put money on.
It's a tragedy regardless, no matter which way we look at, just to think that, And again, and this would be a question, I guess, Colin, for Mitch, would be if you were to say with this type of technology to be able to carry out this type of a crime, what would be your top 3 suspects in this case here, and with the ability to carry it out? And when I say top 3 suspects, I'm not talking about individuals in this case here, Mitch. I'd be looking at organizations that are capable of carrying out this type of attack.
Oh, well, Stephen, I mean, you work for the CIA. You and I both know state actors would have this kind of stuff on the shelf. This gets into, rather than being a normalized rifle wound, this gets into experimental weapons. And, the question is, why do you use them? And that's where you have to consider, if he was assassinated by a conspiracy, you have to divide it into the prep, the event, and then also controlling the aftermath. And when you have something like this, and then also have something like the sound of a gun to cover it up, it gives you the ability, it gives a group like that the ability to control narratives on what evidence gets found, what doesn't.
By the way, the ATF lied. In the report, they say that the spent shell casing was found at the scene, but it wasn't found at the scene. It was a bolt-action rifle, and it was found in the rifle. And the rifle was found in the woods near a chicken coop off campus. So it was not, they can't link that rifle. And another thing is the rifle wasn't fired either, because otherwise all the dogs, the bomb dogs, the drug dogs, they would have found it. They would have sensed it. They're trained to do that. They can detect that stuff for miles. There's no way if that gun was fired and it was there, the dogs would have smelled it. They would have seen it. They would have found it, correct?
Yeah, from what I've heard about those dogs, they were award-winning dogs. They've been through the area, I think, twice. Those type of dogs, as well as cadaver dogs, they can smell a scent from, sometimes miles away. To be within, meters and not discover a rifle that's been recently fired, that would be extremely unlikely. Extremely.
One thing, let me just kind of share something too that I think is important. Because we always talk about, whether it be the ATF, the FBI, the different law enforcement agencies that have been involved in this, the hospitals, the autopsy, not the autopsy, whatever the case may be. When 3-letter agencies like the CIA or, MI6 or Mossad or whatever might be involved in something like this, especially if they're going across agencies to cover something up, the connections that they have are phenomenal. And quite frankly, even the disinformation that comes out, that's another aspect. They'll have people out there that they will swear up and down they're the experts. They'll say 100% Tyler did it. It's a 30-06. And we're talking about people with a great reputation. But with all this evidence, even like what you're putting out now, Colin, this is something that they don't like that type of information to get out because they have a fall guy. And they want to make sure that he's prosecuted. They want to make sure that, ultimately, if they can give him the death penalty, that will silence it from that side there. But if his defense team has any thought whatsoever for him, which that could be another compromise in itself, they would be working this evidence here in his favor.
As far as the disinformation, you're absolutely correct. We even had in the hearing 2 days ago, the prosecutor got up there and was pretty much grandstanding for the public, making saying all these assumptions as fact. A lot of them were complete lies, but they were just, a lot of them were just assumptions. And I knew it. I said, that's what they're going to clip and that's what they're going to run with. And sure enough, the usual suspects, that's what they ran with. They clipped that section and they're posting that everywhere saying, see, Tyler, he's guilty. He's guilty. He's guilty. And it's complete lies. Everything that guy said was just not true.
This habit of prosecutions, especially in high-profile cases like this, they start with a narrative. They nab their guy, and they're going to pin it to him. And they're cherry-picking evidence, and they're excluding the rest of the bodies of evidence that contradict their story. And with a real investigation, you want to investigate. Get as much information as possible, and then from that create a narrative that makes sense to a jury, which is us, the public. And what we're seeing is they already had what seems to, very quickly within hours, they had this narrative. They had this guy. It was going to be this way and done. And anybody else who even questions it, they've been very aggressive on the internet, paying shills and others to aggressively attack anyone who counters this narrative that was obviously not well constructed, and it's not based upon evidence that we already know is out there and refutes their narrative. So it creates this obvious distrust. Something's going on here, and then we see the court processes that are going on. They're not natural. That's not normal. This is not a normal case. This isn't. They're not letting him defend himself, properly. Along with the fact that the judge involved, this is the first case he's ever tried. There's so many exceptional things going on here to push this one narrative and to try to push this guy through, to include, Erica Kirk has an attorney that's basically going to be a second prosecutor to try and push things through quicker before the defense even can analyze evidence. They want to destroy the last bit of, by the way, you're asking about the fragments, what I read. To be able to prove that it's even a bullet fragment, they want to destroy the last fragments that exist. They want to destroy the last bit of evidence in order to, try and arbitrarily say that this was a bullet.
And they don't even want to give the defense wants to at least look at it first. They want to take pictures of it. They want to watch the testing, and they've denied all of it. So they want to destroy the only last piece of evidence that they have of that fragment, and to try to do these tests, which are probably rigged anyway. But they want to destroy the last piece of evidence without the defense ever getting to see it whatsoever, to even prove that it's a real fragment, that it really came out of his neck, that it's really a bullet fragment at all, and not just a piece of metal or something, or shard from the microphone explosion.
They don't even want to provide the documented, homework for how they came to their conclusions. You just have to accept, just take our word on it.
We learned that the defense hasn't even had access to the rifle yet at all. The ATF still has the rifle. They still have matter of fact, the ATF hadn't even handed over the reports for the analysis for the fragment in the first place. They haven't even handed that over to them.
Yeah, so all of this goes into that. After, like I said, if something like this were to be planned, you're going to have planning phases, an event, and then, of course, the control of the aftermath. And what we're witnessing is this constellation of controlled aftermath and false narratives that are going on. And I think with modern day, internet podcasting, independent investigators, and how quickly everybody is transferring and showing information, that's a new monster that they've been up against. This isn't the first type of case where, prosecutions have tried to railroad people. So I think this is a new monster that when it gets this much attention and you've got this many eyes on it, I think they're really struggling to try and figure out, how to control that. And that's sort of what we see, especially their reactions.
Yeah, I agree. They're making it up as they go. It seems like they're reacting. I really think that they expected us all to just buy up the 30-06 narrative. But when Candace, when they revealed, she was able to get a hold of that back footage, I think that changed everything, because then they're like, oh crap, that's not going to work anymore. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, I think it's like they've been playing catch up. They've been constantly correcting, changing the story, tweaking it here or there. They're making things up as they go to try to get ahead of it, because you're right. They haven't, they've never dealt with this before. They've never had, a public that's so insatiable for information, that's so involved in the case, that we're doing better work than the FBI is,
Well, one of the things that I was thinking about on this, and I know that there has been a lot of comparison even to JFK's assassination in this case here, but the thing is we have the overwhelming evidence of cell phones and people and eyewitnesses and things like that have really helped us, where we didn't have as much of that during Kennedy's assassination. Coming back to Charlie Kirk, that's what we're dealing with now. They literally, every agency, every side is trying to cover this up, and I'm very concerned they're going to get away with it, because in my opinion, Israel is number one suspect in this. And so Israel, even though they may be the ones that are really the masterminds behind it, they're going to use third parties, just like the U.S. does, in order to carry this out. It's just like when we were arming Nicaraguans to overthrow their government. We're still using third parties and things like that to be able to carry that out. So just a thought there I want to throw in there.
And Candace proved it with the it was just a couple of weeks ago when she revealed that article where a whole bunch of Freemasons that were also legionnaires in the French infantry or whatever, that they actually just got arrested and busted for homicide for running a hit squad on behalf of, they were trying to kill some Assad agents. And Candace revealed that on her show. And that proves everything that she's been saying. That proves the hit on her, how, everybody was trying to laugh it off like it wasn't real. No, it is real. That's what they do. That's how they operate. All these countries, they scratch each other's backs, You do our hits, we'll do your hits,
That's exactly what's going, with Candace, I'd already, and I guess it's safe to say now because we know some of the things that have transpired since then. But the Israelis wanted Candace dead. They don't play games. They don't. And, but the big, I guess the one thing good that Candace has got going for her is she is very well known. Of course, so was Charlie. Let's face it. It doesn't seem to matter whether you're well known or not, what your voice may be. The emboldenment that Israel has is at an all-time high. I mean, it's obvious. How do you, used to in the old days when Israel would do some kind of war or something like that, they could only go for a short period of time and then they got drug in and you couldn't keep fighting this war, whether it be Lebanon, Syria, whatever the case may be. It always had to be a little short go and that was it. Now Gaza's been going on for almost 3 years and there's no end in sight, and genocide an entire population practically. All the while we have the 6 to 8 hour stand down that's going on. So if they're willing to do that, knowing that the world is not going to do anything to stop them, what's Charlie Kirk or Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson? And my only hope is that we can always try to do everything we can to help reveal enough information to stop that from ever happening.